Welcome to Spotlight Net TV with yet another exciting episode of the Global Wired Women, the show that casts a spotlight on women challenging the status quo from all over the globe. With your host, Jennifer Nash, global visibility strategist, publicist, CEO, and founder of Arc and Brook PR. Jen's passion is to transform entrepreneurial women into visible experts with authority through authentic storytelling. Jen's mission is to feature trailblazing, underrepresented, and often marginalized female entrepreneurs, providing them with a platform to be seen, heard, lovable, and unforgettable. Here's your host, Jennifer Nash.
Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Global Wired Women show, where I feature unstoppable women and female entrepreneurs from all over the world. Today, I'm so pleased and honored to have Hayley Hines with me on the show. Hayley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Hayley, please introduce yourself. Who is Hayley Hines?
Wow. So I am the founder of the Soul Centered CEO Collective and soulsparkleliving.com. I lead retreats for women around the world. And the CEO Collective is a beautiful mastermind of entrepreneurs and visionary leaders that believe when we make more, we can give more. So those are the two kind of sides of my business and my mission in the world today.
I love it. Make more, you give more. I love that. You and I are like kindred spirits when it comes to that line of thinking. So, Hayley, if somebody's listening to you for the first time and they're seeing this conversation and they're just wondering, what is it exactly? What does your business look like in a day of Hayley Hines? Can you just give us an insight to that?
So under the Soul Centered CEO umbrella, again, that's, like I said, a group of these beautiful visionary leaders with big hearts and big dreams doing incredible things in the world. And the essence of the collective is really around kind of this new paradigm of doing business, where it's based on community, connection, and collaboration. So a lot of what I do between our calls is really support the members and helping them get their mission and their vision out into the world, maybe help them brainstorm some strategy around what their offerings are, and then just help promote them, just really shine the light on what they're creating. So a lot of the time I spend connecting and also just sharing what the members are doing, or I might be also planning the next Soul Sparkle experience. We have one coming up in Paris. So I love to dream and vision what those look like as well. So those are kind of the majority of the ways that I spend most of my time.
Amazing. So from what I understand is that you kind of like, in one sense, a publicist. In another sense, you're sort of like the visionary. You were the one that comes up with all these cool ideas, like you created Soul Sparkle so beautifully, which I love, by the way. And then on the other hand, you've got another hat where you're an adventurer. You provide fun for your sisters. And so tell me, let's say, for example, you've got, like, to your point, you've got a retreat coming up in Paris, which I would love to be part of.
Beautiful.
What does that look like when the soul-centered women are meeting in Paris? What does that look like?
Yeah, so, these are experiences that I've created over the last 5 or 6 years in some of my favorite places in the world. So usually each experience is kind of a combination of incredible cuisine and the culture of wherever we are, along with some really beautiful transformational work that we do together. One of my greatest joys is to watch women transform in front of my eyes during one of these experiences. So, for example, Paris includes, 4 nights in an extraordinary chateau just outside the city, champagne twinkle lights, ball gowns and crowns, private chefs, and beautiful dinner party experiences, as well as putting on a gorgeous ball gown and having your photos taken by a fine art portrait photographer, right? So some of these things that maybe you've never done before, and I just kind of pull all of these different really beautiful and magical elements together, so that way women that are there can have an experience of themselves that they probably have never had before and didn't think was possible. So it can be expansive and slightly uncomfortable, and then it's like, oh wow, but I just grew so much and I'll never be the same. It's that kind of feeling where you're in a situation that you wouldn't normally be in, and the transformation that happens because of that, because you give yourself permission to do it and be there, is really, really powerful.
I love that. So instead of having an outer body experience in an imaginary outer body experience, you want to provide them an actual experiential experience that they actually live and breathe it.
Yeah.
I like that. But what I'm actually keen and interested in is to find out, to delve deeper a little bit to your point that you just said, the transformational aspect, because I think you've mentioned it a few times now, almost in every sentence. And so I'm very curious to understand a little bit more, and I'm sure our audience would be keen to hear what you have to say. What the transformation that happens, is that like overnight, or is that something that starts to happen and then of course there's a follow-up and a follow-through for a period of time?
Well, I think so. For example, for a lot of women, maybe they haven't traveled to other countries before. Maybe they've never given themselves permission to do something that feels so big and so maybe scary too, right?
Yeah.
And they also maybe haven't had the experience of how other people see them and perceive them. I think some of the beauty that happens is that when we allow ourselves to be seen in a way that maybe we haven't before, and have that reflected back to us, it can be really that can be changing in and of itself. And so, you know, when we're used to being in our life and doing certain things in a certain way, when we get out of that environment and we allow ourselves to kind of expand into what we've always thought may be possible for us, but we haven't been able to get there yet, that's when the seeds are planted. And I would agree that over the period of the 4 to 5 days or whatever it is that we're together, definitely I've seen some major transformation there. But like you said, it's really the embodiment. And once you feel, it's almost like that frequency, like once you step into that embodiment of that new way of being, you can't unsee it or unfeel it, right? So that's to me the starting point. And then you go home and you're like, wow, now I have this whole new way of showing up, a new way of being. And I think that's been really powerful to watch women go through that process. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So it's not just a mindset shift, it's also a lot of things, just being in alignment with your own internal being and just centering your soul and finding that space that you never knew existed. I love it. Love it so much. So if you were to give our viewers, so obviously my platform, the Global Wired Women, and like to my introduction, I'm always featuring and wanting to speak to trailblazing women like yourself who are making a difference in life. And what is it that you can share with our viewers and our audience right now that can place you in that unforgettable woman space? Is there a specific thing that happened to you in life, or is there something that you've experienced lately or something?
Yeah, so I would say briefly, my journey really included for a long time doing what I thought I was supposed to do, right? And I think that's a really common thing. You go to school, you get married, you get the job, you climb the ladder, you buy the house, you do the things. So I was on that path for a really long time. And then at some point, about 6-7 years ago, I just was like, you know what? I have huge dreams that I want to experience for myself in my own life. And so I had to be very brave and very to take a risk and let myself step into the life that I knew was possible and available, or at least I thought it was.
Yeah.
And that way I was able to now create my own business and go my own way and create a life that I've been dreaming of for a
Do you
decade.
want to attend to him?
Yeah. So when I decided to give myself permission to step into this kind of new way of being, I really feel like that's when the world just opened up, because I was following my soul's purpose and my deepest desires in my heart. And so I would say to those that are listening, if there is something you've been dreaming of, if there is a vision, a business, a project, a heart's passion, right? I think even just taking one step into and leaning into that, it's amazing what happens. And the people that come and show up and want to collaborate with you or want to support you, it's been a really beautiful experience for me. And I think anytime we step into that, the alignment of our soul, or the fullest expression of ourselves and our soul, that's when the magic starts to happen. And I think we're also the most fulfilled. So yeah.
I love that. That is so deep and very insightful. So as an expert in what you're doing, what sort of advice would you give for the person? I know that you talked about them finding themselves and whatever, but I think that a lot of people say, yeah, I hear all of this. A lot of coaches, a lot of consultants talk about finding your inner peace, your inner soul, your soul essence, in so many different ways of putting it. But how do you go about in implementing the actual action of discovering that soul essence that you've got, or you perhaps didn't even know that existed in you? Because it's one thing for somebody who's already found it to think that it's a no-brainer to just, like, you're walking to the store, you want to buy a loaf of bread, you know what shelf to find it, buy it and pay for it and take it home. Whereas I think we're talking about something that is much deeper, that involves certain techniques and steps and maybe mantras or whatever. Is there a specific sort of, like, I know maybe you can't give it all away, but is there a specific methodology to discovering that inner soul that you can share with our viewers?
So I would say that the easiest way, one easy step that people can take is to think about the reflections they receive from people that they love in their life, right? So a lot of times people might say, wow, you're so encouraging. I love how positive that you are. I love how you support me and you show up and you're so whatever the things are that people say, right? So that's one way to kind of get a little bit of insight into what your greatest gifts are, right? Things that come naturally, you know? So I have a gift of exhortation or of encouragement. That is naturally the way I speak. It's naturally who I am. And it's a very easy expression of one of my greatest gifts, right? And that's something that's been reflected to me my whole life. So one starting point is to think about what do people say and what do people appreciate about you, right? And I think that gives you a small glimpse into one of the things that if you were to tap into that and work that every single day in some form or fashion, it's amazing how then it's almost like breadcrumbs, Jennifer. Like we start with one little thing and it does take some time, but then when you start to see how other people are reflecting back to you, and then you think, wow, I really enjoy X, Y, and Z activities, or what are the things that bring you the most joy? I think if we could stay also in that, so those two pieces, how do people see you? What are they reflecting back to you? And then what's the most exciting thing you can do? Like, that's how I started my whole Soul Sparkle business. I was like, what would be the coolest, most exciting thing? And I was like, I think I want to go to Paris and I want to do this and I want to stay in a chateau and I want to have a dinner party at the House of Moet in Chandon. And then I'm just going to invite other ladies to come. Like that was really how it started, because it was the most exciting thing I could think of doing. So when we follow our highest excitement and we are serving at our highest capacity, to me, that's the sweet spot of where people can get a sense of what they should be doing every single day that will light them up and be their highest service in the world.
Yeah, yeah. That's the Soul Sparkle. That's it.
That's it.
Oh my gosh, I just love it. That's just it. That's the nugget that we needed. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, if we were to just take you back a few years ago, maybe I don't know how many years, but to your younger self, like let's say the 18-year-old self, Hayley Hines,
Yeah.
what piece of advice would you be giving her right now?
Oh wow, if I could go back to 18, I would say travel the world now, join the Peace Corps, do all the things you've ever wanted to do. You don't have to follow the rules. You don't have to go to a traditional college. You don't have to get married. You don't have to buy a house with a white picket fence. Your life can look different than everyone else's, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission now to do exactly what you want, not what you should do, ought to do, feel obligated to do. Like, you're the boss of you, and follow your intuition right now and your heart.
I love that. I love that. Owning your truth and just giving yourself permission. I like that because society has constructed, like the reference to the picket fence, 2 dogs, 3.5 children, 2 cars in the driveway, stuff like that. I mean, that has never been. Yeah, that's never been me. So I really like the fact that you mentioned that because I can resonate with that.
Yeah.
Because I can 100% resonate with that. That's definitely me. I'm a late bloomer in whatever I do, not because I couldn't, but because I do things my own way. So I can absolutely, it resonates with me.
Yeah.
So, so thank you so much for sharing that. So if there was a specific piece of advice a parting gift that you would want to give someone, but before actually I get to that, tell me one fun fact about Hayley Hines. What would that be?
Maybe that I can live out of 2 suitcases and travel the world, and feel at home wherever it is I go.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm a bit of a nomad.
So like a preacher, I promise that was the last one, but it's not. So the last thing I'm going to ask you is that if you were to live, and I know you've given a lot of amazing, insightful pieces of advice already, but if there's anything that you haven't already mentioned that you want to talk about, that you want to leave our viewers with, what would that be?
I would say that you don't have to do life and business alone. I would say seek out a community of like-minded other amazing humans that can support you, that can see you and cheer for you and show up for you. I think had I done that, I mean, I have that now, but for the first several years of my business, I didn't have that. And I would say that has been one of the most transformative things for me, to where I feel completely supported and where I don't feel like I'm a one-man show and doing it on my own. So ask for support and surround yourself with community that sees you and will show up for you.
I love it. That sees you and will show up for you, because being an entrepreneur can be very, very lonely. You're very right. And if you've got a community that actually understands you as well, so sees you, supports you, but understands you, I think that's really important. Because when you are a businesswoman or you are a CEO or whatever, it's really difficult for people to actually get you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that piece of advice. Hayley, we've come to the end of our show today. It's been so amazing talking to you. But before I let you go, finally, how can people that have been listening to this conversation, me and you, and are wanting to connect with you deeper one-on-one, or just find out a little bit more information about what you do at Soul Sparkle, how can they connect with you?
So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. It's my full name, Hayley Hunter Hines. And then also through the website, soulsparkleliving.com. So those are easy ways to find me. Send me messages, email, whatever it is. We'd love to connect.
Awesome. And we'll be putting the links down below this video as well. So thank you so much, Hayley. It's been so beautiful having you on my show. And I look forward to continuing having a conversation with you, because there's just not enough time to pull it all out of your beautiful Soul Sparkle soul. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Such a blessing. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And bye.